For the consultants, which are not necessarily people that are used to the facilitation aspect, I would say to explore really how can a workshop be an instrument to help your client engage with you in a more active way. I think that's the part that I love as a consultant, is that it moved away from a do it for you and being positioned as the person that just has all the answers to the person that works with you to help you find your answers. And that's the beauty of the facilitation, right? The facilitator is more of a guide.
Hey everyone, welcome back to There's a Workshop for That. Today I'm joined by Silvia Coco, a brand and business strategist who helps creative entrepreneurs build intentional brands rooted in clarity and authenticity. Silvia has been drawing, painting, building, collaging, creating since the day she could hold a pencil. That creativity spirit flows right into how she works today. And what really caught my attention is how Silvia weaves workshops directly into her client process, not just as a tool for discovery, but as an integral part of her strategy. In this episode, we explore how workshops can be more than just a service. They can become a powerful structure for depth, alignment, and transformation. If you're a facilitator, consultant, or coach thinking about designing your own signature workshop, I think this episode is for you. Hi, Silvia.
Hello, Natty. What a lovely introduction. Thank you for having me here.
You're absolutely welcome. I love your pullover. I'm so jealous. I want the same pullover. Wow.
I love it. I brought it from a craftsman in Florence, and it's such a, I don't know, it just puts me in a happy mood. It's rainy here this morning, so I needed something to lift up the energy, and this just does it.
Yeah. It's really shiny. You know that someone told me I have sunflowers in the eyes, in the middle of my eyes. I have green eyes, and I have these sunflowers. So I was thinking I need a pullover like you have.
It just brings a little bit of fuzzy, warm happiness to the day.
Yeah. Can you tell me where you are right now, Silvia?
I am based in Lugano, Switzerland. So I work, I'm not location based with my business, but this is where I reside currently.
Yes, and this is what we will discover, what kind of work you do. Maybe you want to tell us a little bit more about that and how did facilitation become part of what you are doing today? Because you were doing something completely different, if I may say. Yeah.
Yes. Where do I start? So what I do today, maybe as a starting point, the landing, I work as a brand and business strategist, as you said. That means I help people, well, not people. Specifically, I love working with micropreneurs. So the solopreneurs, the freelancers, the service professionals, let's say, that have micro enterprises, so either alone or small teams. And I love working with them because they're very passionate and close to their business is their dream. But sometimes as you're growing and as you're dealing with things, especially if you're in such a small structure, you need a little bit of guidance, somebody to be a sparring partner, somebody to help you make better decisions, somebody that can help give you clarity on what's the next step. And that's sort of what I've developed my skill set and my interest in doing. So today I help micropreneurs, build their dreams and build better aligned businesses by helping them make better decisions, essentially.
Yeah.
And the facilitation arrived. Well, my background is in marketing and branding. And when I was working in branding, I was asking all the questions to try and understand, where are you at? Where is your audience? Where is your market? Who are your competitors? What is the brand voice? What's the identity of this brand? And slowly I moved from asking these questions as interviews to discovering facilitations and workshops and starting to use them as tools, essentially, to capture these questions. And I loved it because it allowed for a much more collaborative approach to the work, where the client could really work with me through the answers.
Yeah. So we are doing different things, but for the same kind of people. I'm specialized in facilitators, but
Mhm.
it's such a joy to support a person who really have a dream. And
Yeah.
sometimes they are a little bit overwhelmed because it's like for some of them, they are facilitators. So what they can do is facilitate. This they know
Mhm.
how to do, but building a business, building a brand, building offers, this is all the things you have to learn while you start your business, and that are for some people not natural because they've been working in companies before. So do you have the same joy to see people flourish when they find, oh yes, this is my voice, this is exactly my message, this is what I want to do, and I feel more confident? I think helping people to find their branding voice, for example, among other things you are doing, is something that give confidence to them, right?
Absolutely. And you're right. I love it. I think for me it was discovering so much more than a job. It really it gives power to the clients. The clients, which are just other humans that are trying to have freedom in their work-life balance and in the things they want to pursue. So it feels both like part of my career journey. Clearly, this is how I myself am on the market, but at the same time, it feels part of a life mission. Like it is just so fulfilling to help other people build their dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things you are doing, I was just mentioning it, is helping them finding their branding voice. What
Yeah.
does it really mean? Because when we think of branding or when we talk about branding, people will think about a logo, people will think about, I don't know, a color, people, but I think it's envelop a lot of things in it.
Mhm. Well, for sure. I think what you mentioned, the logo, the colors are a final expression of something that is much deeper. When we're talking about, for example, facilitators, since that's your audience, but in general, the freelancers or people that have businesses that are built around them, compared to the bigger B2B companies, for me, it's really about the human first. So, it's what's your message? What are you trying to be in this world? Go back to really aligning your values and your goals and how you want to show up. And sometimes it's very authentic, like it's very close to the person in their private life. And sometimes it's a mask, and both are fine. You can be
Mhm.
somebody in your professional life that is slightly different, a bit, almost going drag. Your brand
Yeah,
can
yeah.
be drag. I think La Creativa was that for me in the beginning. Now I wear the
Good, yeah.
sweater and it feels very authentic. Initially it was very performative. It was, no, this is who I want to step into, is this confident person that can go and, speak in public and hold the energy for the room. And then
Yeah,
the
fake it. These things, fake it until you make it, right? Like, yeah,
exactly, like who do I want to be, and can I
yeah,
personify that sooner than
yeah,
later?
yeah.
And then the space, I guess, reduces, right? You slowly start to really believe that you're it. And for me,
Mhm.
it was this great journey of then finally being able to be who I want to be and not fear judgment or not fear, am I going to look professional or not? That's not, the sweater is not where my expertise is held, or having colorful earrings, or I had pink hair for a long time, like these are not the traits that will make me more or less professionals, but they do make my brand. You know why? Because that the people that I want to attract are the people that will resonate with this, that want
Yeah,
this energy.
yeah,
And so the work about branding is much more about finding out what you want to be as a business, who you want to attract, and who's around you in the market. Like, how are you positioned compared to your competitors is a great question to ask. What's the category you're really selling into? Because it seems black and white, a certain industry. Well, I make cosmetics or I sell cosmetics, and so I'm in the cosmetic industry. Yes, but maybe are you selling self-care? So maybe you're in the wellness industry. So asking these questions are what can make traits of the brand identity and brand personality emerge. Then you go add the layer of, okay, if I'm in this industry and these are people that are around me and this is how I want to show up, what's my color? What's my look? What's my voice? What's my content? but it's a final layer you get to that.
Yeah. No, I really like it because I have the same approach. There are a lot of business coach and business courses outside. And as I was starting, I was looking at agency, how they do that. But the point is, we are not an agency. We are
Exactly.
someone we are the expert. Our hour is what is the valuable thing because we are the person who are giving the value to the customer to move forward. So
Hmm.
first think about what kind of thing do I want to stand for? What
Hmm.
kind of challenges do I love to solve or help people to solve or bring them closer to their ultimate goal, because you cannot bring the people to their ultimate goal yourself. You help them
Hmm.
even as a facilitator. And then look at the market. Who are the opportunities out there? And pick one first. Pick one first and look that you reach out to those people, ask questions. And so we have the same approach. And then you find slowly, you get confidence because you start to talk about it. And then you start to reveal yourself like flowers,
Exactly.
yeah, like your pullover. And then you can start about offer about and all the rest. But
Yeah.
yes, I really like your approach. So you are here today because it was May last year. So I'm
Yes.
so sorry it took so much time, but you showed me one of your workshops. I think
Hmm.
this is exactly, I don't know the name anymore, but it was to capture all the lenses you need to help someone to create a brand.
Yep. It was.
Um,
Yep. Go ahead.
yeah, sorry, go on.
No, yeah, it was a brand audit. So it was a workshop designed to um, help surface, let's see, all the aspects to assess where your business is, and if you want to pivot, if you're, doubling down on the same sector. So, like we were saying before, it sort of analyzes um, where are you at, so the current picture, and then the market, the competitor, target audience, the alternative categories where people might be shopping. So everything that will help shape really what's at the root of how you position on the market. And then the
Mhm.
final phase is what we were saying of, so if you want to position like this, what does it look like? What does it sound like? What are you inspired by? And it's a guiding process for with the client, actually, not for the client, with the client, to build that brand.
Yeah. So you have integrating, so to say, this workshop into your process to work with the customer. This is always the same workshop that you use every time and that is built on a Miro board or you are doing this in person, I guess, right?
I'm doing it for the most part digitally, I would say. Yes. And it is on a Miro board. So I am a fan of Miro, and I love how as a designer, maybe the designer in me loves to still be able to have this blank canvas and builds the journey on Miro. So even if it's one-on-one, which is maybe a peculiarity that not, most facilitators work with groups and teams. I very often work also one on one. It's still a tool that I love to use to guide the exercise.
Silvia, could you walk us through the board that you have done? Where is your signature workshop we've been talking about? Not with to give us all the details, but to show us a little bit the process of how you build it.
Yes. So let me share my screen for those who are watching so they can follow along a little bit. Here we go. So, welcome to my signature workshop. Well, first of all, I always like to introduce, like we said, sometimes there's a technical challenge. So, from the Miroverse, which has a lot of great templates, I got this little template for a warm up. So I
Hmm.
already asked my client to sort of come to the board and just warm up with an exercise that teaches them how to use Miro. If they are very quick at it, fabulous. If they need to learn, this is a great way to warm them up to how to use the board. Then I have a moment, as you see my notes, like step one, step two, step three. I have a moment where it's more slides and it's about explaining the agenda. What are we going to go through? So here you can say I do a session that this one particularly was divided into 4 sessions, one per week. So we do a session about auditing the current state of the business, one about looking at what's around the business. So the brand, the team, the competitors, the market. This was designed with also, like we said before, it can be one-on-one for micro businesses, or it can also be for, small teams, but big businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at the touch points with the customer, the journey. How are you? What's the offer? How are you talking to your customers? How are you showing up and where? And then the brand identity and the unique selling proposition, and really the tone and voice and look and feel of the brand. So after I've done my little presentation, they warmed up to the board. We're clear on why we're here, and I start going into the exercises. I mean, the flow we've just talked, but just to give you an idea of what it looks like, it's not too dissimilar from an interview, but having the sticky notes helps us collect those
Visualize.
thoughts together and visualize exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
so, for example, just to give you to show like one small flow from having all these things captured on a sticky note, now we go into, okay, how do they show up chronologically? What are moments where the business saw successes or failures? And if you're just starting, that might be short, and we can maybe expand on where you're looking to go. So it gives me a lot of flexibility to also capture different moments of the conversations. And like I said, here, for example, you have something about products and services. If you are an established business, you'll have plenty to fill here. If you're not, maybe we just skip to the next exercise, and that's just not something that we cover. So it gives me a lot of flexibility. I'll give you just a quick overview of just how massive this is and why it's, difficult to go over everything. Like, look how
Mm-hmm.
many parts there are, right? So it allows me to be very flexible. um so after this first session, there's also things, maybe this one is, yeah, see, there's also little playful, playful things with hidden parts of the board. So you're not seeing elements until I'm ready for you to see them, because sometimes that can be one thing to be conscious about in the experiences. So you want the aha moments.
Yeah.
And so you have to also be careful that the client doesn't go roaming all over the place on the board, especially one-on-one. It's a bit more difficult. They tend to really follow you, or you're guiding very closely. If you start having 3, 4, 10 people on the board, they want to go and look around, right? So you need to also be conscious of that when you're designing the experience. Um, the one exercise that we had looked at with you was an adaptation. So we were doing the customer journey,
Mm-hmm.
and this is my sort of exercise for the full exploration, which, if I zoom in a little bit, is what did the client hear others say about us and our services, or even what experience does the user have with similar brands and services. So it can be very wide, and then it goes into what are the actions that the client takes when they interact with our brand and business? What are their needs? What are all the touch points, the gains and pains? So this can be very focused, but in general, it talks about flow. Where are a client coming from? How do they interact with us? Where do we want to bring them? And so when we did it for you, we were looking at just that. Even if we abstracted it, just talking about communication channels, not even about your entire business, but it allowed us to think through that sense of funnel. So this was a great example of taking an exercise that's in my signature workshop, but then adapting it to the conversation and the needs. And I think that's the value of having the board, because for you sitting there, you have a sense that there's a tangible, there's a tool, an instrument, a platform for those thoughts to be captured. But for
Yeah.
me, it's not so structured that I can't play around the conversation to get to the results that I want to get from that exploration.
N- No, no. I think the gold also for this, I mean, for any consultant, is to take the time to put on a board all the things that your clients need to go through and that you need to collect also to be then able to help them properly. So
Mhm.
it gives you first, what can I do with the clients? You can put this on a board on a structured way, and then it helps you being more organized in the way you are working. And it gives a completely other impression also to the person who works with you or who pay you to help them, because they see that you have all the things in control and that you exactly know what you are doing, what you are doing, because it's very structured. So
Yes, and especially for consulting services, which are very intangible, right? It's very much about what's in our brains and our ability to connect ideas and to, you know, bring up a lot of different knowledge and pass it on to our customers. I think it's very hard. People want to pay for clear output. They don't. It's difficult to convert a client just based on, well, but I can give you guidance. And so
yeah,
the board for me as a consultant was a very tangible way, together with a final report. It's not just a board, right? It's the experience continues so that you have very tangible outcome to the service. But the board is a tangible part of that process because it gives you a direct sense of having a snapshot. I think for me as a strategy consultant, giving clarity is showing you where you're at is part of giving you that clarity, because we think we know, but then if you're coming to somebody like me is because you also know that it's still foggy. There's something that you're missing out on, an opportunity maybe, or you're too drained in your business, or there's something that you feel that you is not working and you can't quite put your finger on what it is.
yeah,
Having this picture that's captured, not only is it useful in the moment, but now when we open the board again, you know, you're telling me, wow, it's crazy that I've done all these things and I wasn't expecting that it would go this way or that way. It remains useful as a snapshot of a moment. And it informs, first of all, it helps you to track your objectives and your progress. But it also
yeah,
informs, I'm sure, by now seeing this again, when you think about where you want to go next, it brings a little bit of insight. What was I working on? What was a struggle? What have I solved? What do I still need to work on? I had this thing in mind last year. Is it solved yet? Why not? Or why yes? You know, so it is really a tool that I love using for, yes, for that, for giving that sense of I'm giving you something tangible, not just advice. We didn't just talk. We generated something, and something
yeah.
that is useful to you.
Thank you so much for sharing the board.
You're so welcome. I hope it was useful. And
Yeah,
so the fact that the way you go through the exercises, you made it yours. It's you're confident about how you're asking the questions and leading the team. And yeah,
yeah,
that just comes with a little bit of experience, isn't it?
yeah. Absolutely. It's just a facilitation methodology to guide a person, and
Absolutely.
a methodology also for you to collect and gather the right information to then work on their brand with them, right?
Mhm. Exactly. It's a space to archive, to exercise together, to then archive and be able to look back and keep working on. So it's also a tool that remains for my clients. It's a little playground or a gym. Now I'm going with the gym metaphor, you know, it's a space where you have access to a bunch of machines, which are the exercises, and then the personal trainer comes in and tells you, "Okay, let's go. Let's do these exercises." And curates your experience based on your specific needs. But you keep the gym access, right? You can always come back to the board and dig deeper or keep working. That's something that I like to leave to my clients, is even just the tools to keep going if they want to.
So you work with them through each exercise, or you give them access to the board and they can work also asynchronous on the Miro board.
No, at this moment, the way that the process is developed is that I work with them through the exercises, but it would take too long to work through all the details.
Hmm.
So we work through most of, you know, the core, and then it changes. Like my board being a signature workshop, so we can start bringing in your language and showing how it works to others. Being a signature workshop, I have all my key exercises that I think apply to most cases when looking at a brand audit. But
Hmm.
not everybody is the same. I've
Yeah.
worked from, you know, the entrepreneur that has 5 salons, like a hair salon chain in the US, to the one person show who's making dog treats locally in their kitchen. So there's a lot of variety of what you need to explore. So
Hmm.
I also sort of guide them through the exercises that I think are most useful. And that's sort of the coaching aspect of my own service.
Hmm.
And then if they want to go deeper, if they want to keep exploring, it's a tool that remains available to them to go into. Or for example, there's an aspect that's all about collecting inspiration. And I love using Pinterest for that because there's just such a variety of options that you can
Yeah.
pick a little bit of inspiration from. Bringing things back to the board, it would be a lot of time spent together one-on-one for you to go through your inspiration. So for example, this signature workshop is given in multiple sessions. Sometimes there's a bit of homework. That's one type of homework, right? Like go to Pinterest. We've worked through what the positioning is. We've worked through what's the style as a concept that you want to explore. Now go and bring me back some things that you love. And that can be the starting point to then develop the look and feel of the brand.
Yeah.
So there's a variety of ways to approach the workshop. It's a little bit together, a little bit alone, just like a gym and a personal trainer again.
And what shifts for you and for your clients when you bring them into the structure creative workshop space? Does they feel, for example, uncomfortable at the beginning, or they don't know, and slowly, while they are going through this board, they understand how the pieces are coming together?
Say there's either a bit of a technological challenge. So maybe they've never used Miro, they've never come across it. I don't think that's the case for facilitators. I think most facilitators know the tool in this case.
Yeah.
But there can be maybe a not feeling too comfortable putting down the post-its. And so what happens is that, and that's the benefit of having the personal trainer, right? It's the benefit of having the strategist and the co-pilot in your corner is you're just talking and I'm capturing these things on the board. And then we look at them once they're there. Then, like you say, they warm up and okay, now we can move things around and explore, or I understand now how to work through the questions, the logic behind the exercise. And so they are able to keep going along. But I think I put a lot of effort in creating my own brand experience, and then so when you arrive to the board, there's already been an onboarding moments where we go through a discovery session, moments where you're faced with my emails and my proposal and everything like looks alike. So I think they're warmed up to the experience by the time they get to the board.
Yeah, this is something that I really like with the time that I did. Also, with the time I have this pink color, so I try to bring it into my all the work that I do, and this is what I think you create then with your own customers.
It was just and for facilitators, because we are hosts and we are people that think about the experience, it's really just about being a little bit guided to the fact that you have control over this. I think you have the skills to be able to think about this whole onboarding, on brand process leading to your signature workshop, leading to the experience that you give as the facilitator. All that you do before is a similar skill set, but you do it as the entrepreneur, as the business owner, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you've designed, so I think this is one of your workshops, right? I
Mhm.
think when we speak about signature workshop, people sometimes think it's about one workshop. But a signature workshop is for me something that helps you in your business repeat things. And this can
Mhm.
be several of them. Do you have several of this, and how it helps you in your business, in the with your customer and in your own business? To integrate workshops like this in your portfolio?
So I'm definitely what people call a multi-potentialite or a generalist or a curious, so I'm not somebody that would have been satisfied with having just one. I have to say with the with the brand and business audit, it's actually I could even divide it, and already that could be 4 different signature workshops. The reason
Hmm.
why I like to have it all together is because then I have this flexibility to just say, okay, it's one package on one thematic, and then I
Hmm.
guide the client, and I have my templates, and then I guide the client, or I can take a piece of those boards and put it in another board. And like you say, the core topic is that it's repeatable. It's easy for me to have that template and just have it as a starting point for conversation. And it's not only is it repeatable, but it's a service that clients ask of me often. So the
Hmm.
market asks me to repeat it. And that's how I came to develop a workshop that became something that's standardized in some way. And we know the experience is always different, because who you have in front of you will have their own challenges and needs and aspirations and experience, etc. But the questions or the things I'm trying to explore are repeatable. Besides the brand and business audit, what I've developed is similar signature workshops. I mean, my audience is always the micropreneur, so they're going through similar challenges. I guess that's what I try to identify, is what are the needs of the market first that can grab attention of many or can serve many, and that then becomes packaged into a repeatable workshop. So there's some people that are just moving the first steps in their business, and so I have worked a workshop that's more about identifying what are your values. So it's before exploration of brand, right? It's literally you. What
Yeah.
do you want to do as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur? What's your idea? How do you validate it? How do you it's more about building the shape of the business before even going to speak about brand. And then, no, I would say I have mini signature exercises. So, for example, I think we tested last May something about the customer journey, or trying to identify how you're developing content. Like, a common trouble is, we are expected to be everywhere all the time on all the channels and always having something smart to say. And a lot of people feel stuck. Like, if marketing is not part of your expertise and your skill set, it's already hard to be in marketing as a job role because now there's too much demand, let alone it's not even your job, right?
Yeah.
So, and the exploration of that, of how are people coming to you, what do you enjoy creating content about, etc., that's another mini workshop, let's say.
Yeah, nice. I would have loved. I think yes, this is the one that we did together last year, and it was very interesting because I thought, oh, I'm on brand. And it was very interesting for myself to have someone guiding me. And like I can remember that I was stuck on some questions you asked me, and I went, "Oh, she asked me this question. Good question."
Yes, I
I
think
don't know.
because you have the newsletter, you have the podcast, you have LinkedIn. I mean, at the time you didn't have the community, but now you also have the community. And
Yeah,
if I remember correctly, you were thinking, how can I grab more or convert more, or bring more visibility? And then we noticed that you are on all these channels and not giving enough love to the ones that were feeding back to you, the ones that were energizing you.
yeah,
And so we sort of discussed where can you let go a little bit so that you can focus on really pushing in the ones that also give you back. I
yeah.
think this was the conversation. Yes.
Absolutely. And oh, I will ask you now something that was not planned to ask, but maybe you have an answer to this. We are all on, so I am on several channels taking my examples, but I'm working also outside of all these channel for facilitators. I'm working also for organizations. So what
Hmm.
is really tricky and what is really difficult to manage is the fact that all the communication that I do outside is actually targeted to facilitators. But on the other side, I want to work with organizations and I want to make workshops with teams and with cross-functional teams. So this is here you have to develop a lot of networking, which is completely outside from the platforms that you do now.
Hmm.
Do you know people who are managing different audiences, and do you know what advice would you say to those people doing that?
Yeah, so I personally am somebody that I'm managing also different audiences because my heart is with the micropreneurs, but I'm also aware that some of these formats could work in B2B. Now, it's not so uncommon. I mean, even two of us in the room and two of us have this problem, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is it is common that people see more opportunities. If you're just starting out, my advice is not to go for both at once
yeah,
because you need to have priorities. And so it's about filtering out which you go. But you're more established. I have also my years of experience under my belt. So what's the advice? First advice is try to understand if they're both on the same channels. I mean,
hmm,
LinkedIn clearly is for both B2B and the B2C, if you will, like the professionals that you still catch as individual business owners or freelancers or etc. Um, they're very active, much more than the CEOs, actually.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Because we need visibility, especially if we're talking to more of of this B2C customer like us. We're the one filling the platform with content to be visible because we're making ourselves, which is our business also, visible online. The CEOs, the executives are there, but I see them more. Either they're trying to position as thought leaders, or they're there to network. They're more in the direct messages. They're more in the interactions in the comments. But their mind for their business is either inwards. So if, for example, a CEO is thinking about how to run the operations, how to manage the teams, how to make sure the results are met. So they're not on LinkedIn to sell the business,
Yeah,
or they're thinking about the markets that their clients are in. So if you're thinking B2B, it might seem like LinkedIn is the same channel, but that's not where your client is maybe making the most interaction,
yeah,
depending what you're selling, right? So I would ask myself, when you're positioning for that audience, or is it better to maybe meet them at events? Is it maybe better to, find other channels? For example, a podcast. Is it people that consume content that teaches them something and they prefer to do it, by listening than browsing social media? Like, these questions is what you need to ask of where are they mingling? Where are they hanging out? Where are they meeting people? That's where you got to be. And so that would be the first advice. Understand the channels.
yeah. We are so aligned. We are so aligned, and this is why when I am talking with facilitators, I told them not spend more time in pairs communities. So spend times with pairs, of course, in communities, and talk about your great workshops and the great activities on LinkedIn. But if your goal is to work with organizations, HR leaders, L&D development people, project managers, however, then your communication should be oriented to them, and you should spend more time with them to get to know them than
Yeah.
with your peers. And you should talk much more the language of your customers and their challenge and how you help to solve them with an activity. But then you have to present it differently. It's not about the activity, but it's about what was the context, how this activity helps and what was the result. Um,
Mhm.
and then targeting and talking about your audience. And then you don't have at the end an audience of facilitators. What was good for me, but were not planned at the beginning. It was not my plan. So I did it
Mhm.
wrong at the beginning, but gain an audience that I serve today. But then if you want to meet them really, you have to go outside to meet them at events, conferences, to use LinkedIn differently, mean to use LinkedIn as a connection tool. I was doing a session for Fit for Facilitation called Date Your Future Client. And I was comparing LinkedIn as like Tinder, left, right. So go on LinkedIn, look at profiles, check the profiles, see the people who are talking about the things that you would like to help to solve, and then reach out to them, send a very short introduction and why you contact them, and then get in touch and have conversation with them. And I have a last question. If you would have a facilitator or a consultant who are thinking about creating their own signature workshop and don't know really how to start, what would be your advice?
I would say to explore really how can a workshop be an instrument to help your client engage with you in a more active way. I think that's the part that I love as a consultant is that it moved away from a do it for you and being positioned as the person that just has all the answers to the person that works with you to help you find your answers. And that's the beauty of the facilitation, right? The facilitator is more of a guide.
Thank you so, so much for all the insight, for the beautiful smile, for the beautiful flowers. I'm sure we will see us again in the Fit for Facilitation community or in the community you are in the our
Our
generation community.
generation, yes, but I'm also inside your lovely in our generation, I'm a core team member, so I'm also activating there and creating events there. But I'm also, of course, involved in the Fit for Facilitation community, which I love. I mean, my heart is definitely with the facilitators. I love the community, and I love the work you're doing with Saeed and Alex and Mehdi. So I'll be there. And actually, if it's fun to have a follow up or anybody wants to connect and have questions, I'll be happy to engage there as well.
Thank you very, very much. Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Nati, for having me. Bye.
Bye.